And then there were 2 episodes. 0 to 100 Real Slow is the name of the podcast. My name is Hattie. I'm your host. This is a podcast and where you, the viewer / watcher / listener, you get to choose the topic and I get to yap about it. We are official, y'all. 2 episodes. Are you kidding me? 2 episodes in? Listen, we got some stuff down the pipeline. I do have to edit a few more videos. I feel like we've got 5 episodes packed in, but we're releasing this today and it's episode number 2. So I feel like we can just go ahead and say that we're official. This is an official podcast. I'm happy with the concept. I'm pleased with the questions that I'm getting. The feedback is good, even though it was probably like 5 or 6 people. It doesn't really matter. The fact is we're making things happen and we're putting things out there. Okay. I loved episode 1. I loved the questions that I got. We're still sort of trying to find our flow in terms of how many we can entertain in terms of questions and voice notes. But I think a 35 to 40 minute mark is good enough for this podcast. It's just me yapping. So thank you so much to all those that watched, that listened, that added, input, that sent me voice notes as well. Put out a story last night asking for people to send me voice notes, and I got a couple. So we're going to start off with a voice note. There was one message, I think it was a comment on the teaser that I put out for the first episode. I didn't really make it clear in the teaser that I was looking for voice notes so that I could, play it and involve you guys in the show. But there was a question that was in the comments, and so we're going to go back to it. I didn't really think too much of it because I wanted to just be fully in the zone when I read the question here for the podcast. So we'll do that as well. So we've got, I think, 4 voice notes and a comment to sort of just yap about. All right. I think we just dive straight into it. Yeah. Like this is from a friend of mine. Her name is Nico. We're going to jump straight into it over here. I can find her voice note. She sent me this yesterday. But we're going to play this right now, right here for the show. Okay. Yeah, was there anything I wanted to talk about before we jumped into this? I was really happy with everything so far. Do I talk about like what's been happening this past week or past month? No, let's just jump in. Let's just jump into it. Let's just jump straight into the question. All right, here we go. I'm talking gibberish. Okay, first voice note of the show, of the episode.
Okay, so since you're so
Bedroom
natural
voice.
and real in front of an audience or in front of a camera, how does knowing people are watching affect how you express yourself? Like, does it change how authentic you feel?
Good question. I think it's a 2-part question. Hold on.
And what does your relationship with ketchup say about you as a person?
Okay, so she slipped that in there. Okay, that's 2 questions. We'll try and relate the second question to the first. Let me just play this back one more time. I believe she's just asking if knowing that there are so many people watching does change my authenticity, affect my authenticity?
Camera. How does knowing people are watching affect how you express yourself?
Right.
Like, does it change how authentic you feel?
Okay. Wow. Okay, we're starting pretty serious. I thought we were gonna mess around a little bit for the first few questions or for the first few voice notes, but we're going serious. First of all, thank you so much for that question, Nico. Whoa. Love that question. For those that don't know, I am a host, a presenter. I work as an entertainer. I'm on stage, and so I very more often than not, I'm speaking to like a large amount of people, or I'm basically just always talking to a crowd. It could be like a crowd of thousands, it could be a crowd of, a couple hundred, it could be just like 20 people. But like I'm always speaking to people. And then with all the content that I do, of course, and the views that I get, from family and friends, it's good. It's a good question because it's 2 different things. Being natural in front of a camera, that takes time. That's just like, the thing is with being on stage, I have to constantly be alert. And also when I run an event, there's also this sense of responsibility that is born because, obviously there's clients, there's a company buying the whole thing. There are people who don't share the same sense of humor. There are people who don't understand English as much, or sometimes I may talk a little too fast, or, I may delve into a topic and get a little serious about something and, I'll lose people along the way. So you really have to be hyper aware. And so it changes doesn't affect me so much. It's just I'm just more. I have to gauge everyone's levels when I step onto a stage, and because it's my job to make sure that they feel, they're comfortable, they feel informed, that they're a part of whatever is happening, and because that's my job as an event host or a presenter. And so, and then being authentic or just having like a big personality in general it plays a huge role in sort of establishing this connection that you have with the crowd, from when you start to when the event ends. And because a lot of people go in there, they'll do one thing, they think it's like a guidebook and that they have to follow, and they just do the same. It's different every single time, especially in this country, because you have no idea what your audience is going to be like. Every other day, it's just a different audience. And so you have to be able to switch things up in that sense. Obviously, there are things that you have to follow, the ethical guidelines, being respectful, knowing when to kind of just proceed with the flow of the event, allowing the person you're interviewing to speak more and making it about them, never making it about you, unless, for me, it's like my big thing is I make fun of myself a lot, and that puts people at ease because it's like, he's a clown. But also he's entertaining and he's very informing. So like it's a huge part. So I think the difference between doing that and doing stuff in front of a camera like this is there's a delayed sort of effect when it comes to shooting content, because I can't see the people's reactions until after, or whether maybe it's in the comments, or sometimes if I'm talking about it with people outside, or if somebody sees a video of mine, or if they catch like a reel. It's a different thing, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm a little more comfortable in my skin when I'm just in front of a camera. I can just keep going. And also like I have full control over what gets put out in that sense. But take this podcast, for instance. This is like take number 4. I've done the intro like 4 times already. And then I want this to be, I'm so adamant on this podcast being like one shot. And so I can just redo and redo. And so you can't really do that when you're on stage. There are ways in which you can. You introduce somebody, you go off, and you come back and you just try and do better. Excuse me. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. You have a sense of responsibility when you're on stage, speaking to like a lot of people. And so you have to be very sharp, and you have to place your jokes or your bits, very strategically, importantly. It matters a lot. For me, it's like a challenge also when I'm on stage. If I see somebody that's not really paying attention, or if I feel like somebody's a little uncomfortable or they're a little lost or confused, I make that like my thing. So as I'm sort of going along with the program, I kind of just try to see if I can get one more giggle out of this person, if I can get this person to just relax their shoulders, or if the person that's looking at their phone, if I get them to look up, someone is thinking of walking out, if I say something that gets their attention and they turn around and they decide to stay for the event. So like this, these things also, everything happens live. And so I take things like that as a challenge, and that works my hosting game. I don't know. It matters in that sense. Yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question. I hope it did. So yeah, sense of responsibility when I'm on stage, but I still try to be myself as much as possible. And then in front of the camera, it's just more time for me to just be silly. So yeah. Thank you for that question. Let's now go to that comment that I got on the teaser I posted on my Instagram. So let me just go back to the video real quick. And then in the comment section, this is from, it says here, it's from Topics and Reviews. I think this is Hazem, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so the question here in the comment section is, great question. What do you think of Marvel movies and when they include real science behind it? I like this question. Thank you so much for this question. Topics and Reviews. What do I think of Marvel movies? I love Marvel movies. Am I a huge fan? I'm a fan. I'm not like a huge nerd. I read my fair share of comics growing up. X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman. What else did I read? Not too many comics. So I know just enough, and then I follow the timelines, and I get excited whenever a Marvel movie comes out. My favorite Marvel movie actually would have to be Civil War. Yeah, Civil War, Endgame Part 2. I like. But yeah, Civil War has to be my favorite film. And the reason why I like it, which is very much directed to your question, was because the reality of the situation or like the main sort of like the plot of the film is very relatable, very human, and there's real science behind it. It's not like some alien from outer space with incredible powers coming to take over Earth. It's more of like, a trauma-driven, the villain loses his family and he wants to destroy the Avengers and he wants to break them apart from the inside, and so he goes through all, these situations and he takes like the idea that there was a fight between, Cap and Tony Starks and how they're supposed to be governed when it comes to protecting the world. That conversation is very real, and just the science of politics in that sense, and just using a video from, I don't want to give too much. I feel like I can. It's okay because Civil War was like a while ago, so it's okay to give out spoilers, but like, showing Tony Stark's the video of Bucky killing his parents, knowing that it would cause Tony to just go ballistic, and then Cap, defending Bucky because that's his best friend, and like everything, it's all real shit, and just the science behind everything else, like how AI was used, how he had to sort of, I think it was a scene in where, correct me if I'm wrong, shut down the power supply from like a plant somewhere. He had, I don't know, there was like a thing that was like a little contraption or like that he had sent to like a plant, and then it kind of, things like that. These are things where if you look at it, it's like, that's human, that's plausible. There's real science behind that. I love that. It just makes the story, it gives it more lore. And like Marvel movies, superheroes or the superhero world in general, the more lore, the better. It just gives you more to think about, more to study, more to find out, and a lot of what ifs, and a lot of fiction, of course. It's people flying, there's people getting claws out of their hands. But like, I love how they just include sometimes some science just to make it a little more, not relatable, but it just makes it, it's not too far fetched. And just the fact that there's always meaning behind everything also. I love that they use science, sometimes real science behind the Marvel movie. So yeah, great question. Thank you for that, Topics and Reviews. I hope that answered your question. But yeah, like I said, Civil War, one of my favorite movies, just very real. I love the acting. I love the writing. And, this claim for what is the right way to defend the world, and, free will and how much of it needs to be governed. And just, I loved it. I loved the acting. And I loved the villain, There's not many movies in where you can really just say that for in terms of the writing and how the villain is sort of portrayed. But yeah, Civil War, one of my favorite Marvel movies. Okay, let's now go to another voice note. Let's go from my Instagram story. This is Manu. I hope this is PG. Manu's a fellow basketball. This is for sure going to be basketball related. Because I work as the MC for Dubai Basketball Club. They're a team that's in the EuroLeague, and they're based out of here in Dubai. And Manu, of course, is one of the super fans, one of the regulars. Let's see if I can find his voice note here. Okay. Hope this is PG. Otherwise, I'll have to bleep it out.
Goat debate. And yes, I'm on the toilet.
Okay. One, thank you for sending me a voice from the toilet. Very nice of you to think of me during that, intimate moment you have with your porcelain chair. Two, man, I mentioned, I think on a story a few days ago that I hate taking part in this GOAT debate because I think it's useless. But for the sake of this podcast, I will try to explain why or how I think of it, and then just leave it at that. Although I do think that if I explain things, first of all, I do work in the basketball industry. I've played basketball. It's been a huge part of my life. And sure, I'm not an expert when it comes to just, I know the players that I've studied. I know the players that I've interviewed. I know the teams that I loved. I know just enough history. And so like, I'm not the biggest geek when it comes to all the numbers and stats, which brings me to my first argument as to why I never like having the debate, because it's like, you can only have it if the criteria of what makes a GOAT is established properly. Every time you argue with somebody over who the GOAT is, it's like you're just arguing with a wall. You can never change their mind. Everyone has their GOATs for their own reasons. And that's fine, and that's fair, and that's how it should be. It's like, my personal favorite player isn't included in the GOAT discussion, but my favorite player of all time is Dwayne Wade. And that's because I relate so much to his game. I love the way he played. He was the first of the three in that really super packed elite class of rookies that won his first championship. At one point, he was the main person go-to when it comes to the USA team. His highlight reel is amazing. And the way he carries himself and the way he plays, I loved it. And he was in Converse. It's very different. I love Dwayne Wade. He's my favorite player of all time. Which can then be the reason for why there might be a little bias as to why I have LeBron as my GOAT, right? And just hear me out before you roll your eyes or start commenting down there. If we're talking criteria, okay, MJ, no doubt, is the most efficient when it comes to the stats. In the years that he's played with 6 championships, 6 rings, 6 MVPs, finals MVPs, how many MVPs did he win? 4 or 5? The best points per game average, obviously, right? Jordan's, the whole brand, he's a winner. The Last Dance, MJ's the GOAT. Yes, I think of it as GOATs of an era. We're going to have to drop in Kobe in the conversation, of course. And here's why I don't. One thing I did notice is a lot of people started having discussions about Kobe being the GOAT after he passed away, which bothered me a lot. Because I talked about him the same way while he was playing. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, where did this come from? How come all of a sudden you guys are Kobe experts? Just because, and of course more content is consumed and everything has a part in the GOAT debate. So going back to Kobe, Mamba mentality, mindset, skill set, and he was basically like a more improved version somehow of MJ. They're both mid-range assassins. Kobe's skill set was, I think, he had a deeper bag. I mean, he had more time to sort of like be innovative about it, right? Different eras, different times, different teams, stacked rosters. They had to go through multiple super teams. And like one could argue that Jordan didn't have to go through the best of the best. I think there was an argument about him not being able to go through the Celtics and the Lakers at some point, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back to the stats. If you know the numbers or the history, then put in the comments if you know what I'm trying to say. And so, there's that. And then obviously Kobe with the 5 championships. Was it 5 or was it 6? Jeez, I'm supposed to know this. Jordan has 6, LeBron has 4. Yeah, Kobe has 5. Okay, LeBron, there's just so many things to talk about. Like, okay, here's why I put LeBron at the top of my list, because Kobe and MJ are basically the same. 6'5", 6'6", mid-range assassins, defensive skills off the charts. LeBron is 6'8", 6'9". A literal freight train, as described by every single commentator around the world, coming down the lane, is able to pass, is able to play all. He's positionless. LeBron is positionless. He can guard 1 through 5. He can still, dunk on your head. He can still hit a clutch shot. People don't like to talk about this. He's hit clutch shots. He can drop 30, 40 whenever he can. Even now at this age, that's the thing. His longevity is also a huge part of my debate. Sure, he has the most points ever scored. It took him a longer time. And if MJ kept playing, of course, and there's an argument for, I get all that. But the fact that he has done it for this long at this level, He's throwing lobs to his son in the playoffs. He's never had any controversies. He's never gotten into trouble. No major injuries. His wife is amazing. His kids are all great. Like, we love the family. Yes, he can be goofy. Yes, he can be corny. Also, everybody flops in the NBA. It's another art. Here's one thing that people don't talk about with LeBron. Also, I guarantee you, when the documentary comes out, they're gonna, compare it to the Last Dance in terms of IQ. Nobody talks about LeBron's IQ. You hear it now when players talk about it in podcasts. Players who have played with him or against him, he will tear you apart. Basketball IQ wise, he'll know your next play. He'll have coaches scramble. That's, there are things that you just cannot ignore. And I grew up with LeBron, which makes it even more, of a reason for why I hold him as my GOAT, if we're talking about the GOAT discussion. But he also has, what's the number? Over 10,000 or, I can't really search on this laptop. Was it 11,000 assists? And LeBron is considered a forward. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys are trying to catch if you guys can catch what I'm saying, but it's just yes, of course, I will not deny the fact that Kobe and MJ are GOATs respectively. And I haven't even thrown Steph in there. If we're talking about revolutionizing the game, having kids all over the world yell Steph when they shoot a three, making the 3-point as efficient as it is today, changing up the whole, game plans and schemes and Steph can be talked about as well. Does he have as many points as LeBron, Kobe, and MJ? I don't think so. But he's just as efficient in that sense. He's hit, more. I think he's hit more tough shots than Kobe. Also, arguably, Steph gets doubled from half court, and he's managed to make all these amazing shots throughout his career. And he's got his championships, his 1 or 2 MVPs, I believe, one of them unanimous. But that's another discussion also. But for me, it's just you won't get another LeBron James, or not for a long time, for sure. It's going to cost so much. You're getting me in trouble, man. You're getting me in trouble. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the GOAT debate. Don't get me wrong. MJ and Space Jam was the reason for why I actually took basketball seriously. The 2002 Mavericks was the reason I really picked up the ball and started to play and join varsity teams and join competitions. Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki on one team. Are you crazy? Favorite team of all time. Then, of course, Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade, right before LeBron joined. And Bosh, can't leave him out. Yeah, people are going to talk about, LeBron and they were super teams, man. Super teams, man. They're I'm not gonna neglect Scottie and Dennis for the Bulls. I'm not gonna neglect Shaq, who is arguably the most dominant player to ever play the game. So come on, man. It's just you're just running in circles at this point. But let's just say if LeBron somehow manages to win one more championship, bro, come on. Insane. Anyways, let's move on to the next question because I can just go on and on about this. That's the problem with having this debate. It's just there's no end. Just, put the criteria on the table and then you can have a discussion. But every time a criteria is changed, you can have a different GOAT. That's the best way to put it. I believe. Okay, let's go back to the stories. See where we're at here. Did we have a question from... I believe it was, we're going to hear again from a person who sent in a voice note last episode. So Malik is making another appearance on this podcast. Let's hear it this is Malik.
So since this is going to hopefully be my second time being featured on the podcast, I'm a little inspired. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on second chances? Second chances in general, do you think that people deserve them? What is it that you look for when determining whether somebody deserves a second chance or not? And,
oh, no, Malik.
Yeah, just your general thoughts on people having second chances.
Oh, no, Malik. Why? Why did you ask this question? Oh, this is crazy. Okay. That's a topic. I don't know if you're asking because there's something going on, or somebody's asking for a second chance from you, or you're asking somebody for a second chance. If it's you, if you're the person that asking, we got a separate conversation, my boy. What did you do? What did you do wrong? If it's somebody else, that's a different story. If somebody is asking you for a second chance and they did you dirty, that's tough. So me, I am a firm believer in second chances, but also because of all, I don't want this to sound dark, because all the shit and all the hurt that I have attained in my 36 years on this planet, I'm very, very careful with whom I give it to. It is a very special thing to give a second chance. You really have to think about it. Really, it's not easy to give out. It shouldn't be easy to give out, to be honest, because some people, sometimes they'll do things without thinking. Sometimes they'll do things after thinking about it. They still continue to hurt somebody. And the world is crazy. And I'm not perfect. I've done some shit that I regret in my life. I've said some shit that I regret also. I don't want to believe that I've done, the type of damage that was done to me to other people. I hope not. But I am a firm believer in second chances, because I like to, if I'm speaking from personal experience, I like to believe that I grow from the things that I've done, or the relationships that I've lost, or the friendships that I've damaged, missed opportunities. For those that don't know, I was born and raised here, and then I moved to the Philippines when I was 16 to live basically on my own. And I was there until I was 24. So like a lot of my formative years and very important years. And I had, damaged too many friendships, made a fool out of myself so many times. I was so self-centered, very selfish with a lot of decisions that I made. And I'm very much aware of the people that I've hurt. And it drives me crazy. I hate that part of my life. Like if anything, there are things about like my adolescence that I don't remember anymore, because I think I've been just trying to suppress all these things because I don't like myself. If you ask me, if I'm being honest, I do not like who I was growing up. Granted, of course, there were, redeeming qualities and growth but silver linings here and there. And obviously I am who I am today because of all the things that I went through. But yeah, you really have to observe. And Malik, of course, coming from you as well, of all the things that I have to go through in term, when it comes to giving people second chances. And I'm very big on giving it. And I don't like to make it so that people have to prove themselves. I just want to just naturally see it in people after they've made a mistake or after they've caused some harm. And people think I'm very silly all the time when I'm out and I joke around a lot and I'm almost never serious, but that's only because I just want to I always look to get reaction so that I can observe. And so I'm always observing people. So yeah, be careful who you give a second chance to. Really just try and understand and see if they really have understood the pain or hurt that they've caused, if they, if they carry that burden of really trying to find forgiveness, or if they're really growing from it, if they've learned something from it. Man, at the end of the day, you're going to have to decide. You're going to have to just, also make an assumption on whether or not, things, because there are patterns. There are patterns, right? And although everybody is different in their own sense, they're called patterns for a reason. And, if you see something that's way too familiar, and learn from your mistakes and learn to either walk away from that, say no, or just don't associate yourself anymore. Because yeah, it's tough out here, man. But then also, if you're asking for a second chance, whoever the person is, yes, I will say give Malik a second chance, because one, Malik has no intentions at all, never ever in his life of making somebody feel bad or hurting somebody. Malik is a pure soul. All right, he's a good kid. But if he's hurt you, I want you to come to me, and then I will discipline the boy. and then we can talk about whether or not he should be given a second chance. But yeah, don't know why you asked me that, man. We're gonna have a conversation about it. Okay, next up we have a voice note from my sister, the youngest in the family. Sandra is her name. We call her Cookie, and she is currently in Morocco, I believe. Yeah, she's in Morocco. I think she's trying to make her way to Senegal. She's 26, so she's in this, I got to travel the world and do what I can era. We all went through it, and I'm happy that she's going through it, and I'm happy that she's traveling. So this was her voice note. I think she sent it to me through Instagram. We're going to have to find out real quick. Yes, she did. Okay, here we go. This is the baby sister.
Why not? Why not? That's the question. Tell me why.
Okay. For those of you who don't, so we grew up in the UAE. Okay, and me and my sister throughout our whole lives. She's 26. I'm 36. She's 25. She's turning 26. We have the thing is, if you've grown up in Dubai, there is a tendency, more often than not, that you are either able to speak with an Indian accent or you somewhat have an Indian accent, right? Our teachers, our aunties, our friends, it's something that's there. And also being a third culture kid, we're able to do many accents, not in a, it's like, not in an offensive way, of course. This is all just because we're able to do it. And sometimes in here, this is a country, especially in where you really have to, it's not them. It's not people who have to adapt to you. You have to adapt to them. And because you're able to, sometimes it just makes conversations easier. People are not lost in translation because we can code switch. That's what it is. All right. Not me trying to over explain why we do the Indian accent. But so yeah, me and my sister, we've been saying this ever since. This has been our sort of like our motto. Our tagline is "Why not?" and we say it in an Indian accent all the time. Why not? Why not? Why not do this? Why not do that? So this has been our thing for the longest time. We are very strange people, me and my siblings. But just to try and explain it, it's sort of like our mantra in a sense where. So much that we actually have it tattooed on our ankles. We have like sibling tattoos of the words "Why not" on our ankles. And so when we say it, we're basically we're sort of challenging each other and where, listen, why not? Why not try and conquer the world? Why not try and put out a podcast? Why not travel around and live in Morocco and go to Senegal and try to help out and, learn about, what's the word? What's she trying to get into? Like, conservative living. What am I thinking about? Environmental. She's trying to be an environmentalist. She's trying to help animals. Like, why not just do all that? Why not try to be a big personality? So it's always been our thing. So whenever there's something that kind of just like got us stuck, we'd always just say that to me. Why not? Why not? Hey, you want to go out today? You have no money. Why not? Just come. We'll do it. Like this is how we attack life, basically. But also the way we say it to each other, depending on the tone of how the phrase "why not" is said, it could mean multiple things. So, like for instance, I could be overthinking it, but let me try and dissect these 3 why nots that we hear on this voice note. Okay, so the first one. So the way she says it here in the first one, it's more of like a pat on the back, like, look at you with your podcast and asking for people to send in voice notes so you can talk about it. So it's like okay, I see you. So she's hyping me up with this "why not," right? The second one is
why not?
So like, see the emphasis on the "not," right? So that is basically her saying like put a stamp on it. Don't worry about how society's going to view you. Don't worry about peer pressure. Don't worry about being judged. Don't worry about, like being canceled or being afraid of what you're going to say. Know that you mean well and that you want to make the world laugh and you want to have everybody think and you want to engage in conversation. And like I can just tell from the way she says that. So she's hyping me up. And so those first two were basically ways of her hyping me up. One was like she was giving me shit about it. Two was like, listen, just stick to it. And the third one,
That's the question. Tell me why not.
the way she says, tell me why not.
not?
Okay, all right. So the way she said, tell me why not. I feel like the third one is more of like, hey, bro, we need to have a conversation because there's probably something that I want to talk about. So I feel like the third one was more of like I got to check in on my sister and see how she's doing. So I know it sounds so strange, but this is how we've been operating for years. All right. Since she was a baby, since I was a kid. But yeah, this is how I sort of interact with my sibling. Do we have time for another voice note? I believe so. I think, yeah, I don't want this to run for too long, but like, great voice notes so far for this episode. Okay, this is Hajra. I was supposed to play this for the third episode. Okay, no, she's actually sent me multiple voice notes. So we'll try. Well, maybe we can save one of the voice notes for the third episode or fourth. Did I shoot the third one yet? No. We'll save it for the third episode. So we'll play this one voice note. We'll have this be the last one. All right. Here we go.
So my question to you is, what do you do when you want to meet someone to date here in Dubai? It's extremely difficult. My friends have been asking me, and I don't have an answer. So maybe you do. What do you think? Apps, go somewhere? I have no idea.
Okay, I'm hoping this was the question because she sent me another voice note right after it. I feel like it's part of the first question. Let me play that.
Hadi, I want to know what is the best day of your life?
Oh no, that's the second question. Okay. Okay, well let's save that one for next episode, all right? Because I feel like we can unpack a lot for the first question. So basically,
So my question
is she asking
to
for my
you is,
thoughts?
What
Or
do you do?
what do
when
I
you wanna
do?
meet someone?
Okay. I think I'm pretty much like you in a sense where I don't really have an answer because there's things that I really can't talk about on here, and you know why. And so that in itself is one of the reasons for why it makes dating so hard here. And also, wherever you go, there is a culture and a way of thinking that's usually found in places, right? And because everyone is from everywhere here, it's very rare that you find somebody that's on the same page as you. And so for me, like being on the same wavelength is a huge, huge factor when it comes to dating somebody. I have to be able, and they have to be able to keep up also in terms of just conversation or like inside jokes or stuff that we find interesting and, mix it up with the physical activities. And I'm not talking about the naughty kind. I'm just talking about just like doing stuff and going out. It's limited versus, living in other places. And so it does, I feel like this place does sort of attract a very particular mindset that I myself, this is just for me, that I myself am not really attracted to, which is why it's very hard here. But if you're asking in general, go out, people. Like go out. Yeah, the apps are the new thing, in this day and age, and for the new generation. If you're a millennial like myself, or if you're actually looking for something to do that's a little different, just go out, really. Involve yourself in activities. There's hundreds of them every single day happening. And summer's right around the corner, so it's going to get a little hot, but there's still things that are going on. Go to functions, I guess. Go to like join a class, go to the gym. You can even meet people at the gym, even though it's not supposed to be the place where you're supposed to meet people. I'm just saying, like, in general, go out. But one thing that could fix the dating culture is work on your conversation skills, man. Like, work on consuming things, whether it's reading books or watching shows, or just like learn to have things to talk about. I feel is what sometimes is lacking here, because it's like usually the same conversations over and over again that I hear when I go out. And granted, it's fine, people are enjoying. I just myself I can't find myself to stay in one place whenever that happens. I always just get up and leave. And so I have a very, very specific set of friends and different groups that I hang out with because, you know, there are so many different things that I do. And so like I kind of just compartmentalize my groups sometimes. That sounds horrible. But yeah, in terms of dating, go out, be interesting just in your own sense. Don't try too hard, but like everybody's interesting in their own way. Listen to people. Like actually be curious. Like these are things that are just, they're supposed to be, you know, what do you call it? They're just supposed to be like on what am I trying to say here? It's supposed to be the bare minimum, these things, but sometimes even the bare minimum is hard to find. Sometimes even common sense is hard to find, but that's how it is. So I don't know. I'm so sorry if that didn't really satisfy as an answer to your question. But yeah, go out. Be interesting, be curious, have conversations, ask a lot, look for things that you haven't done, get out of your comfort zone. That's the thing with being here is that word right there, comfort. Everybody's comfortable. Things start getting interesting the moment you become uncomfortable. It could be good, it could be bad, but it's definitely a lesson that you learn. So learn to be uncomfortable is what I say to that. I hope that answers your question. So yeah, with that said, I feel like this has been a good episode. Yeah, episode number 2 in the books. We are official. All right. Episode 3 coming out pretty soon. I'll try and be a little more... I'll try and just explain better in my teasers and where people can send voice notes for the podcast. Just preface by saying that the voice note you're about to send is for the podcast, so that I don't click play right then and there. And we'll try to include you in the next episode. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, for listening, and for giving a shit about the things that I give a shit about. So yeah, I'll see you guys next episode. Later.